Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mind Your Nest. I'm your host, Jennifer Rosen. I know it's been a while, and you're probably wondering, where's she been? Well, here I am, and we're doing a special in-person video episode, and I'm so excited. So I have 3 friends / colleagues in the senior lifestyle community industry, and my thought was to bring us all together so we could talk a little bit about what we do, how we best serve the senior community, and how we can actually work together to help refer back and forth, as well as our desire to want to go into communities, 55 and older, senior communities, maybe your local library. So the 4 of us can talk about what we do and how we best support the senior community, and see if anybody would invite us in to speak about our services. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Lisa Santiago. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Jennifer.
How are you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, along with these beautiful ladies. We love being together as resources. I know I'm going to let you guys speak for yourselves, but this will be the second time I'm joining you on your show, and I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm Lisa Santiago. I work at Caring People, which is a private duty in-home care agency. And we've been in business for 25 years, but I've actually been working with seniors for 15 now. So it's great to be part of this group so we can help more families with resources.
I agree. Thank you for that. I actually forgot to tell you what I do. So we're going to reverse back a little bit. I'm a daily money manager, which means that I help individuals in their home with opening and sorting mail, paying bills, matching up EOBs to doctor bills and Medicare summaries. I also advocate on behalf of my clients to find a way to reduce their Xfinity or their AT&T bill, a whole host of other things. I'm also a notary, and I help my clients with some technological support with logins and whatnot. I've been in the this industry for a very long time, business and financial operations, and I really, really love what I do. Okay, next up, Marcy. Hi.
Hi, Jennifer.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, so you tell us what you do, what you're all about.
Well, I am a mortgage loan officer. It's kind of a second career for me. I was in advertising for 30 years, decided to do something different, and got my mortgage license. And I have a partner who's been in the business for more than 18 years. She comes from a Wall Street background. She's awesome. Her name is Jody. And we are a female-owned company, and we have a small, tight group. And one of the things that we offer is called a reverse mortgage for seniors, people 62 and over, where if you meet the right conditions, and there are quite a few conditions, you can actually find a way to stay in your home and stop paying your mortgage. And no, the bank does not take your house at the end. There's many opportunities for your children or your heirs to buy the house back at the end of the loan. So this is what I focus in. It actually can be part of retirement planning, as well as a way for seniors to save money and pay for their in-home care as they get older.
Fantastic. You know, I remember the first time I heard about reverse mortgages, and I had no clue what they were all about. It sounds like too good to be true, but I have to say, since I've learned more about it, I can see the value and the benefit to
It's not
clients.
what people used to think years ago. It's really can be a valuable tool.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. And to my right, Emily Segal.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course.
This is the second time I'm here on your show, like Lisa, and you just make everything so warm and inviting.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you having me back.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you do?
So my name is Emily Segal. I work with the estate settlers, and we are family-owned and operated estate liquidators. So we provide estate liquidation, move coordination, and total property clean-out. And what we do is work with seniors and their families to help close down the family home, their parents' home. If the children don't live locally, we come in and liquidate whatever assets are in the home. We can coordinate their move into an assisted living community, or just their move to be closer to them, and sell off whatever assets we can, clean out the home, return cable boxes, sell a car, and return the keys to them. My husband is also a realtor. We work with wonderful teams in the real estate industry, and so we can sell the home as well. And I personally have used a lot of the services and friends and colleagues that I know from the industry during my own journey, working, taking care of my parents, and when I lost both of them. So I love what I do, and I can't say enough. People don't know that there's a service like that out there. What we do, I think what each of us do.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very important that we get the word out, and we love working together and just
we have a lot
resource.
of laughs, as you can tell.
Yes, we do have a lot of laughs. And I just appreciate everybody in the industry. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Yeah. So I wanted to step back a little bit and talk about how we all met. So I've talked about before how I went out on my own and started Mind Your Nest about a year and a half ago, maybe. I had experience being a daily money manager back in Chicago when I was working full-time, and I had a couple kids, and I thought, why don't I take on one more thing? So I had 3 clients, and I loved it. So as I said, this is really something that comes from my heart. I love the older population as well as anybody else who needs help. So I've been a member of ESRN and some other groups that focus on the senior community, which is where I met these lovely ladies. And I have to say, in the beginning, I really was a sponge because I didn't really, know much about the industry and what profession served that population. But as I spent more time at my breakfasts, I realized how much we have in common and how much our given profession really comes from the heart. I know all of us have had our own personal experience with our businesses, whether it's ourselves, our parents, grandparents, siblings, or dear friends. We all come into it from a place of love. So one of the things that we had talked about during one of our breakfasts was a lot of us step into this when it's a 911 emergency, when families are at the end of their rope and they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do, and then they're in panic mode. So we all talked about not when our role becomes real at that phase, but how we can help families better manage the inevitability, the eventuality of, being in this environment. We all know, and a lot of people don't want to say this out loud, but it is true. We all meet the same end. We're born, we live, and we die. So how can we help our clients be better prepared and really start opening up our eyes to the reality that maybe someone in our family needs help, and not pushing it aside and saying, oh, she's fine, she doesn't need anything, she's just tired. So anybody can jump in. What are your thoughts on that? I know we had briefly talked about it, but what are your thoughts on helping families kind of, from, a further point in time to really start having those conversations?
Well, I think it's really important to be proactive, and I think that's what you're trying to say, is be proactive rather than reactive, and put your affairs in order. You do that with money management and things like that, and your estate. And I think it's very important to be proactive rather than reactive.
Emily, what's been your experience when you have families that are in a panic 911 emergency situation?
Well, we come in, we explain what it is that we do, and we hold their hand through the whole process. We understand. We've been doing this for 15 years, and there's really no issue or problem that we can't help solve.
And especially since you have so many resources, I think that's the nice thing is, unfortunately, most of us don't get calls unless there's an emergency.
Right.
So talking about the being proactive piece, it's like everything else. You know that you need to plan for something, but a lot of people want to believe that it's never going to happen to them.
They don't need it.
Or, oh, I don't need it now. I mean, I've had clients in their 60s. I've had clients all the way up from that. You just don't know. And sometimes when you're doing things quickly in a crisis, it's not always the thing that you really want to get done.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
like you're dealing with that emotional piece and you're trying to pull Band-Aids together all over the place. And I think we've all had that personal experience where we've seen that firsthand and what that does to the people who are trying to glue it all together.
Right. You become vulnerable and you don't want to be taken advantage of.
Right. Oh, right. And you'll sometimes just be willing to take anybody's advice or suggestion.
Right.
One of the things that I wanted to mention was, Lisa, you and I worked together with a client of mine. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was a lot of the seniors today may or may not have a long-term care policy that has incredibly rich benefits that you'll never be able to get again, I guess, probably in my lifetime. So I had a client who was in dementia. I mean, full-blown, don't really know what level, but she was in trouble. And fortunately, she had a long-term care policy. However, one of the issues of not planning, especially if you're a widow and you don't have family, then you may run the risk of not even qualifying to start accessing for your long-term care benefits, depending on how far gone you are from a cognitive impairment perspective. So that was one of the things, too, that kind of started this conversation in planning and going back to when you're healthy. And like we've talked about before, getting your estate in order, doing a will, living will, trust, all those things, that this should probably be one of those conversations included in that.
Oh, absolutely. I think the thing that people forget sometimes is that if they want to put all their plans in place ahead of time and they have that power of attorney, healthcare surrogacy, if they have an estate plan in place, then there's no need for a guardian to take over.
Correct.
So this particular person you're talking about, because she didn't have that support in place, really the next step was guardianship because the mental capacity wasn't there. Like, I didn't feel comfortable continuing the conversation with her because she just didn't have the capacity to make decisions. And I think if you can get that all in place ahead of time, and even if you don't have children, there are many people who can help you. Like if you have legal counsel, if you have a pastor or a rabbi or somebody who can help you, then at least you're still in a place where you've gotten to tell people what you want before it becomes an issue. Nobody needs to be alone. And we have so many people. I don't know if you all have seen this in this market. It just seems like a lot of people either don't have their kids locally, they're estranged, or they don't have anybody at all.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Marcy, how can you speak to that in your role with working with families? Do you find that your clientele comes from a place of 911 emergency, or do you sometimes start the relationship before?
It's not. I don't think it's that much of a 911 emergency as it is in healthcare related and move out situations where people are terminally ill, because that's not something that really a mortgage would be involved in. But it does come with people who are getting older and starting to realize that their money's is possibly they're going to outlive their money. As we see so many people are outliving their money these days. I know several people that are over 100. We probably all do. It's not uncommon these days.
Right.
So you really, not only do you have to plan, but you have to plan for way longer than you used to have to plan for.
Right.
So how do you get all those ducks in a row? That's when you have to speak to a financial planner, and they'll usually, work in some kind of plan for your home. As we get older, it's harder and harder to hold on to our house.
Right.
But it's also the cost of assisted living, independent living, is going up and up and up every year. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a huge increase every year. And who knows, if we'll even be able to afford that in our lifetime.
Right.
So these are all things that you're going to have to start planning for. And your mortgage can now be part of your retirement planning. People have to look at it that way. It's not giving the bank your house. It's taking a loan against your house, basically, so you can continue to live in your house and use that mortgage money for nursing care or somebody like Jennifer, if you need somebody to help you pay your bills, or, if you need to have aides in the house, or a housekeeper, or a live-in, or whatever you need to continue living in the lifestyle that you are accustomed to.
I forget the statistic, but I think it's something like 80% of people want to stay in their home. They don't want to move to an assisted living. So when you're looking at those kind of statistics and, talking about the financial plan and talking about the reverse mortgage and as part of your plan, this is all the things that we're talking about today. Having just the idea of what you want to do, because if you don't have a pension, or, maybe you've inherited something from a family member and you're really getting to the point where you've maxed out your capabilities, but you want to stay home. I mean, how else can you do it? That's assuming that you have your home that you own, but a lot of people do have equity. I mean, the biggest transfer of wealth is happening right now through real estate. So I think that's a key piece to helping people.
Marcy, do you meet with the whole family, or do you meet with the client that's looking to get into a reverse mortgage?
We're usually talking to the clients. I haven't been in too many situations where the family gets involved, because you have to be 62 or older to be eligible for it. So they're fairly young people, that's the time when you can start getting it. And the older you are, it might be a little bit more difficult. So the younger you are in that age range, because it is a loan basically, but it's a reverse loan, and there are many facets to it. But it is a way for you to stay in your home.
So in your situation, it sounds like, 62. I'm going to be 59 in January, so I'm going to be 62 in a minute. Then you really do work with your clients before there's a potential cognitive impairment or a situation where somebody may or may not be incapable of making those decisions, correct?
It does happen. I haven't encountered that personally, but I know that it has, especially in Florida. And you're seeing a lot more people with dementia these days. It seems to be I'm hearing of 50-year-olds getting Alzheimer's and dementia. I heard even children can get Alzheimer's and dementia. So that's a whole nother story that needs to be worked on. But the cognitive issues really, if you don't have a plan in place before those symptoms start appearing and you're by yourself, it's a real situation for somebody.
Absolutely. I was brought up with a few sayings from my parents, and I have a lot of them. But one of them that I really think it's kind of a witticism that really is true: a plan without a plan is not a plan. And that's probably me coming from a family of accountants and an attorney, and that's how I was raised. But it's not just a saying or how I was raised. It's really a mindset, which really helps me help my clients better, helps them serve them better. Because if I wasn't raised like that, I don't believe that I would be coming from a place of complete chaos if I didn't learn, to start getting things in order. I'm not saying, when you're a teenager, but at least have that mindset, because unfortunately, as we know, live your life every day, because you just unfortunately don't know when something's going to happen. Lisa, so can you talk to me a little bit about how people start their relationship with you?
I'm sure you've heard this before, but a lot of times there's a crisis that's happening. We'll have a senior who is either in a rehab or a hospital situation, and they're getting discharged. They need assistance, and they just are like, okay, well, I don't have anybody here, so I need somebody to help come in and take me to doctor's appointments, or help me with shopping, or help me with things around the house. And so we'll help work through that. And then sometimes I'll get their adult children from other areas that call because they're like, oh, my mom is resisting getting somebody in the house, but we know we need to do something. So it really depends. But for us, we try to work with the client and meet them where they are. So if they are just looking for an hour of care or they need 24-hour care, we will go and we'll talk to them about their goals. And as you know, I'm sure the adult children will have different goals than the potential client.
I think we've all had experience, maybe Marcy, maybe not you so much, but all of us, that either is a plus or, an impediment.
But there's no typical client for us. I mean, it really depends on what somebody's needs are and how we can fill the gap, because sometimes they even have maybe another caregiver or somebody that they've trusted for a long time, and that person's going on vacation. So, wherever we can step in and help. And we've talked about this in the past, just like Emily's had family she's worked with. I had 3 grandparents who had dementia. And so I've seen personally how caregivers, that journey that they take and the toll it takes on them. And sometimes it's just being reassuring to that family member that it's okay to make the decision, especially if we're talking about somebody with cognitive impairment or may not be making the right decisions because their executive functioning isn't there.
Right. Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to bring up, I have a client who suffers from a terminal pulmonary disease. I think it's called IPL. She's been diagnosed for a couple of years. She's on oxygen 24 hours a day. She can't leave the house. She's an amazing woman. I adore her completely. And her partner, they're not married. He's a veteran. And so she is very accepting that her life is going to be ending. She doesn't know when, but we've been working on, doing a lot of planning, purging of files, really trying to consolidate where her money is, and instead of having it in 3 different bank accounts, consolidating it down to 1. But I will say, and I don't know if any of you have had an issue with that, is when somebody is terminally ill and is sometimes more concerned about the surviving spouse or partner and the stress that it puts on not only the client who's suffering, but also the partner or the family member who has a feeling that things are coming to an end, and the stress and the overwhelm that causes in the house. Have you ever had that experience?
I don't think we've ever had that experience.
I mean, I feel like I have, because we deal with couples a lot.
Yep.
And I think each of us also has this, even though we're not social workers, we have this caring piece to us that
Absolutely
wants to help somebody get through that.
Yep.
So, for somebody like that, it might be a good conversation to talk about making a move to another location, like an assisted living or some other residence, that if the time ultimately comes where she's not there, the partner with dementia can just automatically be taken care of in a place that he's already used to.
Yep.
Right. Already familiar with. Right.
Yeah. And, what I've noticed is that's what's causing the biggest stress with her. And which is wonderful and loving. And unfortunately, the reality is when she's gone, her wants and needs for her partner basically are gone too. You can only plan and try to help support as best as you can and kind of cross your fingers. I definitely know that that's something that I've heard many times when I'm with my clients, is that when I'm gone, or what do I do? Or sometimes they care more about people that are going to be here after they're gone.
Well, the stress is, you tell people, I'm sure you've had this conversation with them. It's about that old analogy where you have to put on your oxygen mask first before somebody else on the plane if there's an emergency. Right. A lot of people don't do that, but I also forget the statistics on this, but people who are caring for a loved one tend to go.
Yes.
Right.
Before, because of the anxiety and the stress and the health related issues.
Yes. Yep.
So, she should look into how this would affect her if she did have the supportive services in place before.
Right.
I think a lot of people are worried about relinquishing control.
She definitely is.
So instead of thinking about that and thinking about, what it would look like if, it's got to get turned around to really see the value. I actually had this, I'll give you a quick story, with two sisters once. 3 sisters originally lived with their 3 husbands. They never had children. And it was down to these 2 sisters left in the house. Everybody else had passed. They all lived under one roof.
6 of them in one.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. It would not be my choice, but this is how they lived. And the 2 sisters came in one day. This was when I was working in assisted living, and they had just come back. This was in Boston. They just came back from Florida, and they're like, yeah, we decided to come, check things out again. We had an appointment. I'm like, okay. As we're talking, we found out one of the sisters had Parkinson's, and the older sister was worried. What happens to my sister after if something happens to me? Because that was her biggest concern. They only had each other left, no children. So we got their pastor involved. We got an attorney involved. And one day I just said to the 2 sisters, I said, okay, let's make a deal. You take care of this and we'll take care of this. And what we were taking care of was arranging a senior move manager, bringing things, setting up the apartment. All they had to do was fill out their paperwork, which was to take to the doctors. So they moved in a few months later, and unfortunately, the older sister ended up having a stroke. Wow. And so, we really felt good that now this woman wasn't by herself.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And so I think that was, when you say timing is fortuitous sometimes, like maybe the older sister knew somewhere that something was going to happen. Yep. So I think that also happens with spouses all the time too. Like we had one recently where unfortunately the family was up north. Son was in New Jersey. Mom and dad were down here. Mom kept sending dad to the emergency room because he had dementia, and she just couldn't handle it. She didn't know what to do with him. And she would say things like, oh, he's lethargic. He's not. Right. The ambulance would come, take him to the emergency room. He'd be fine. And the emergency room would be like, well, we can't hold him here. So we ended up doing care for them because unfortunately, they were threatening to call APS on them. Wow. Because there was nothing wrong with him. Yep. And then eventually she moved him to a memory care community. But a lot of times I think with the couples, it's that vow that they take, that I'm here and I'm going to take care of you for my life. And they don't realize like what that burden is to each other. When you start taking care of somebody and what that physically does to you when you're 90 years old.
Yep. Well, and I think also it's not admitting that maybe you're not the best person to be in this role any longer because your loved one really needs more help than what you're able to provide at this point in time. So that was great. We could be here for hours, I think, talking about professional stuff, personal stuff, whatever, having a lot of giggles. So I just wanted to close with thanking the 3 of you and letting everybody know, really, we're here for anybody's help. You can call any one of us. All of the contact information will be in the show notes. And if you know of a community of 55 plus, an independent living community, maybe if you run a library, we'd love to come in and host a meet and greet and talk about our services. We would love to be your resource for all things daily money management, care management, reverse mortgage, and full clean out when the family member is either no longer with us or is moving on to an assisted living or dementia Alzheimer's facility. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And thank you all. This is first time going video. Hopefully we kept your interest, made you smile a little bit. And I think that's it. Don't forget, everybody, to mind your nest.